we've been nitpicking, quote unquote, myself included. Now, obviously, we know what we're trying to do where the Premier League is concerned. As I said, the macro of, we're out of two competitions. Premier League is 9 points, potentially 12 before City kick a ball. At this moment in time, that's assuming we beat Bournemouth. At this moment in time, it's a 9 point gap that could be shaved to 3 if they beat us and win their game in hand. Now, obviously, the performance wasn't the best today, but it does lay down a marker, in my opinion. Like, draw a line under the sun. Okay, I'm not happy with the FA Cup. Okay, and I think we could have went at least minimum another trip to Wembley. I think we could have put our best foot forward in the League Cup and gave a better account of ourselves. And I don't quite believe it's a line under the sun, because you got to go and perform, obviously, on Saturday and in the return leg where it is only 1-0, and then obviously against City and so on and so forth. So I can't quite say it's a line under the sun, but it kind of lays a line. All right, you've arrested that kind of poor form. Enjoy today, back to business tomorrow. So like I said, it weren't pretty. It weren't that it weren't pretty, because I'll get into that, yeah. But I do think there was a reaction. I do think there was a desire to win the game. I do think we lived dangerously on occasion. Big up David Raya for his saves. Even when he made a slight mistake, he made a better save. I do feel, as Arsenal fans, obviously, we're anxious. All of the competitions interlap in it. When you look on the macro, if you offered Arsenal 9 points clear on paper without context in August to like the position we are now, a lot of people would have taken it. Champions League, as long as we're in it, give a good account of ourselves, get through to the next round, deal with Barcelona or Atletico when it happens. I mentioned the cups as well, but the momentum, we want to see something different. And I do think you can't get the two interlapped, if I'm completely honest with you, Arsenal fans. What I mean by that is, as I said, the last two games were poor. You want to, I know we can't beat them 7-0, but for argument's sake, we beat them 7-0. This player's looking mad. This player's doing that. We're like, oh, all right, cool. We'll allow you lot for them games. We're moving forward. It wasn't quite that. But I think you'd be naive if you just browse sport in Lisbon and you expected that. And what I mean by that is, they're in this round of the competition. People can talk about favourable draw and all of that. Arsenal fans, we know about upsets in general. We know about doing upsets. We know about upsets happening to us. Everybody who's in the quarterfinals or the knockout stages is in there because they've earned it. It don't matter about names and this, that, and the other. Or Real Madrid probably wouldn't have lost their first leg. So, yeah. And on top of that, I can't lie, the wounds are still fresh when they dumped us out of the Europa League. Obviously, their wounds are still fresher when we beat them at their place last season. Obviously, we've done that again this year, right? But if you look at Sporting, prior to playing us, their home form in the league is immaculate. I think it's 20-odd games without losing at home or something, or unbeaten in general, something like that. They're second in their group. Their manager has been a manager for eight years, and I think he's gone from amateur football to what he's doing now. They haven't reached this stage in a hot minute. The home form's great. They're going to be purring, and I waffle about that to say this. It was a good tactical battle. Whatever you say about Arteta, he's going to set us up. We're not going to get embarrassed. He's going to overthink. Their manager did the same thing. I think both teams gave a good account of themselves. Both teams respected each other where they obviously needed to. I think it was a low-level game, because when we did have shots, it was tame efforts on target, and the same for them. In fact, there was an effort. I think Noni's corner hit the bar. They definitely had an effort with that. I actually think it was a better performance. Like I said, I'm not here to waffle and say it was amazing, but I think Declan Rice with driving forward with the ball, with mopping up defensively, people won't agree, but I actually think the positions, like the starting positions a lot of the time, and how Calafiori was moving into midfield and how Zubimendi was operating off the ball, was opening up pockets. A lot of people on social media don't agree with me, but I'm not here to say Odegaard was amazing. I actually think Odegaard had a decent game. I think people that say, oh, but he got hooked when he's chasing the game, you really thought he was going to play 90 minutes. In the same way it was predictable today, it was predictable against Southampton. So, yeah, I wouldn't say Ben White and Noni were amazing, but I thought first half a goal might come down their side. I think our midfield was better. Gyökeres, you're doing what you can. I must admit, you don't need to be offside for the Zubimendi effort. That was a good effort, but got chalked off. And big up the impactors. If I had to highlight a couple of players, David Raya stood up to man of the match for me. I've mentioned the midfield. Martinelli, I don't know what it is when you're an impact sub. I don't know what it is with the Champions League. I don't know what it is. Every now and again, you are a big game player, as mad as it is. You remember you're Brazilian. Like, your performance in general off the bench was amazing. Obviously, a bit of skill in the weighted pass. Kai Havertz showed Gyökeres how to stay on side. And you do wonder, it's a different effort, but you do wonder, that chance that fell to you, Kai Havertz, had you, it's different. But if you scored in the League Cup final, what were we talking about? it's not smash and grab, but it's elements of smash and grab, in my opinion. In that Arsenal fans, we know about conceding in the dying embers of the game. We've seen that a lot of the times this season. So I do think if life was fair, everyone would have a lot less, and a draw would have probably been the fair result. And obviously on Talksport, me and James were saying that it's like we're not going to quite take a draw if you offer it to us, but a draw wouldn't be the worst result. You bring it to the Emirates, we do our thing. I think their striker who replaced Gyökeres is suspended for that game. Obviously, we're in the driving seat. We cannot get complacent, people. But I think it was a performance to build on, like to kind of arrest the previous two, and we just keep it moving from there, if I'm completely honest, man. As I said, I think my centre-backs did well, man. I love to see Magalhaes getting into a bit of handbags in the first half with their attackers. I think Saliba was quietly brilliant. I think Ben White looks like he ain't got quite 90 minutes in the tank, but I think he was woeful against Southampton. I personally wanted Mosquera to start right back, so I have to big you up. Noni, I like you. Sometimes you don't quite remember that, the ball can't go, you have to keep it in line with the chalk, but I think you did all right. Better from Trossard. I've been very critical of Trossard in 2026, and I'm not saying these men were amazing. Big up Max Dowman as well for his minutes off the bench. I think he's the youngest player in the knockout stages, and, boring Arsenal who's ruined football and we're anti-football and we're not entertaining. If you do not support my football club and you live in the United Kingdom and you support a British club, we have nice you lot, because now we've confirmed that there's 5 places. Us and City ain't gonna be fighting for that. United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Aston Villa, you lot fight for the 5th spot. Let me know how that goes, but you lot got to thank us, if I'm completely honest, man. And you know, one thing I give my boys credit for, because I think tactically both teams, it was going to be one of those kind of games with the manager. There weren't too much space. I think they pressed us very well. I think they went man to man, which has become a theme. Obviously, Osman Diamande, a centre half that we've been tracking, he was moving like Ronaldinho with that outside of the football, that had an effort in the first half. And to be fair, like their use of the fullbacks and trying to take us out of position was quite good. There was times where I thought there was a couple of attacking phases where I think we're still sticking to the script. Could we do something a bit random, and definitely in the Champions League? Because I know it's not the same, but Real Madrid, when Declan Rice scored that goal, when he spoke about it, I can't remember if it's the first or the second free kick, but he said he just felt it. The set piece coach saying deliver it into the box. That's what he needed. And there was a moment I thought we might be on the receiving end towards the dying embers of the game. They obviously had a chance where David Raya stood up tall a couple of times, but I did feel towards the end, I'm thinking, are we going to stick or twist? As much as I'm looking at the manager for game management, I'm looking at the players. Are you thinking, you know what, draw thing, we go back, we do this next week, or do we go for it? Sometimes you go for it and you kind of get stung on your ass. And I would say games like that, it's not how life works here, but games like that is what Arteta wants to see, because there's been times where if we drew, we couldn't have complained. Had we have lost, obviously, all the statistics point to it was an even game. We do the ideal scenario syndrome. If that goal goes in the first half, this happens. That's how I feel like in Arteta's mind. That's how games are going to go in it. But unfortunately, that's not that. But the main thing is something to build on, isn't it? The main thing is something to build on. I want to see if I missed out any points, people. Yeah, like I've basically said it all, man. I do think at times it was opening up and being slight end to end in the second half. I do think, Noni was getting fouled a lot. I don't understand how their linesman's right next to Gyökeres where he's offside and he hasn't put up his flag, but fair play. I didn't think Kai was offside. I think 0-0 at halftime was a fair result. As I said, I did like Calafiori's starting position a lot of the times. So, yeah, man, we nicked it at the end, didn't it? Low-key affair, we took advantage. We don't travel well statistically to Portugal. We actually have not progressed in the last 8 that many times from the quarterfinals with, an exception of recent history. So, yeah, man, we all know the headlines. If we got beaten up in the League Cup, beaten up, obviously, in the FA Cup, you lose today, while they're 3 different competitions, they all kind of tailor parallels to the Premier League. So now it's just about building momentum, restoring the feel-good factor, and honestly, whatever competition you're playing, whoever is fit, whoever isn't fit, just getting the job done and making sure in May of this year there's a parade. For me, the Premier League is the most realistic one. Champions League, let's stay in it, let's book smart, let's earn the right to win games. I look at Bayern, I'm like, you never know, because it's not even confirmed. Real Madrid are out, Barca look decent, we can cope tactically. But now you're getting to that period where you need the manager to kind of go to war with himself when he's planned stuff and we need to pivot away in game. And now you need the players to stand up to be counted. And my subs did that. My starters did that. As I said, I'm not saying it was an amazing performance and everything's amazing, because if I'm saying David Raya is our man of the match, which we become accustomed to our defenders, then there's a lot to happen in it. But I'd have rather won today than lost in it. And yeah, so we did that. We enjoyed today. focuses on Bournemouth because Sporting going into this is an important week or important 2 weeks, really, because you got 2 games against Sporting, you got City. Going into this, you got 2 teams that are in, for Arsenal's sake, nasty run of form. Sporting purring. One prior to that, won every game at their place in the Champions League. Obviously came from behind against Bodo Glint, bit between their teeth because history isn't kind to us. We've come to their backyard and obviously beat them last year. So it's all going to be there. And then you look at Bournemouth, forgive me if I'm wrong, they're 11 games unbeaten in the Premier League. So that's probably at this moment in time the best form of anyone. Plus, we know about their players and what Bournemouth have been doing as a club. I don't need to tell you about Areola. Yes, we beat Bournemouth earlier in the season, but it weren't easy. We lost to them at the Emirates last season as well. So it is what it is, man. Like we're in that period where every game's a must win. It's the most important. We lose, it goes left, etc., etc., etc. So you won't catch me complaining about today, man. So, but we just need to build on it. It's as simple as that. Man said must be in the studio. Smash the like button if you haven't. He snubbed us. Not even. That was a hard watch, but a win is a win. Don't think that'll be enough versus Barca. The big games are in the Prem. Need to keep winning to win the league. Any slip up in City are there. Max needs to start, I think you're saying. The thing with Max is physicality, in it. You got to remember, he's not been exposed to playing week in, week out. This is how you get injured. This is how you get fitness and whatnot. On one hand, Max Dowman, we need to protect him. We need to remember he's 16. We need to, install consistency, but he's crossed that parallel where it don't really matter about your age. You're a very good tool in the toolbox, and it's nice to see him get minutes today. It's nice to see him do what he's doing. You know, had he have, I don't know, been a 17, 18-year-old where you've kind of been around in the Premier League, you might have started. Like, it was a big test. You got 90 minutes, forgive me if I'm wrong, or close to it against Southampton. This is a quick turnaround. Like, we do have to protect him. If, as I said, if he was 18, 19 and had a couple years under his belt or been exposed, he would have started today. Like, let's have it right. 2026, it's really just been Max Dowman and Gyökeres in the final third that have given us anything close, really, to what you want to see. And I'm not going to lie, man, I've said this, and this is completely irrelevant to this, but I do think you miss Mikel Merino in periods like this because you need your Bandulu brothers. Now you need all the ugly players, all the random stars like Max Dowman, the ugly players that divide opinion, the Kai Havertzes, the Gyökereses, the Marinos. These men make the difference. As much as it's about playing well, and life's a contradiction, and I'm contradicting myself. We want to see us play better over 90 minutes and whatnot. To a degree, we're in that point. It's just about getting the job done because Sporting deserved a lot more today. Are we going to trade anything with them? No. And we've been on the receiving end of that. So these are the things that happen. These things are bitten us on the arse. They've gone against us. Football's decided in both boxes. We patterned that today. Football's a 90-minute game. We stood up to the occasion. We went to a difficult test in a country that isn't kind to us. We've come back with the 3 points or with the victory. But there's still 90 minutes left in it in this time. Anything can happen. If they go score early doors in the Emirates, I'm sure the Emirates is going to be buzzing a lot more. And this is even beyond the obvious reason. This is why I need to win at Bournemouth car. The home games, we need to make them count. Imagine we lost 3 in the spin in 3 different comps. We all know what the papers, the YouTubers, the tabloids, everything, and rightly so, you know what the sentiment inside the stadium and around the world would have been. Derek, appreciate you. Big up the Australians, man. I was on TalkSport, man. Hit the like button. It does only take a moment, man. I missed you lot equally. A win is a win, but it's another disappointing result for me, winning ugly. I can't get it. I get it. Can't be 5 goals every game against the same opposition, but in an attacking sense, we're not just doing it. And you're right. Individually, the attackers are not playing to their full potential. That's probably the major. If you split the team in defense, midfield, and attack, it's the attack stealing a living. And I get you. Definitely, we need to do that in general. It's not even necessarily isolated today. Had we have been doing that before and we won today, we would have said, oh, it's an ugly game. You do need an element of winning ugly. As Derek has said, but you do want to see us perform perfectly or a lot better over 90 minutes, which I do think people are being a bit unfair. Like they're taking that and applying it to this, where you can see the Sporting's form, our form, tactics, all of that. It was never going to be that. But then at the same time, you're right. We do need that, and we need that fast. I've come to accept that we're not necessarily going to see that. We're not necessarily going to see great attacking play or any major changes. For me, it's just, we're good defensively. Get back to being a great defensive side. Attackers, who wants to stand up to be counted? I see Gyökeres. I see Max Dowman on a consistent basis in the last period. Kai, I see you today. Martinelli, I see you today. But am I going to get that against Bournemouth? Because we know we can, we've got more clean sheets this season than we had last year, even though I think last season we defended a lot better. It's the attack. This is where I need you lot to rise. And to be fair, indirectly, it's the whole team. But it's Champions League. Got the job done. Defense stood up to be counted. Positive performances always wanted. And when you're losing, I can't quite say it's a rut, but you want to stop the rut. So yeah, man. Odegaard, wow, the man has serious PTSD from the past 4 years. Unpopular opinion, I'll be real. I think Odegaard was okay today. Like, weren't amazing. I think Odegaard was okay. In the same way, I think he was okay today. He was okay against Southampton. Build on that and let's see something. No one in the midfield and up front is amazing, apart from Martinelli. Remembering he's Brazilian, Kai obviously scoring. We love Max, even though there weren't something to really say today. It's our defenders. I think Saliba was quietly brilliant. I think Gabriel was good today. Calafiori, I didn't even know if you would start today. I think you did well. Benjamin White, I think you did your thing. Ryan, man of the match, isn't it? Really? And really and truly, for all the shots and everything, I know a couple chances hit the bar. Ryan made saves, but I think it was more of a weird little tactical battle that opened up on occasions. I don't want to quite say it was a low-key affair, but it was a low-key affair. It kind of felt like a Premier League game, and I felt like that against Leverkusen in the first leg. I felt like that today in terms of the low blocks and the teams off the ball and all of that. It weren't really kind of like what we saw in the initial stages in the Champions League, where we're just blitzing teams, seeing good football. The only exception, Bayern Munich, because I don't know. I think Bayern Munich at home, even though we won, I was really impressed with them tactically and impressed with us. And Newcastle away, they're the two games that stick out to me, man. Unks, big up American Gunner, big up DG. Didn't set the world on fire, but we definitely needed a win. There it is. We needed a win. Because what if we played well and we got shagged? Sasha, one love. Evening. Danny, I'm happy we got the win as well. We need to adapt to cup football. In England, yeah, probably. In Europe, the way we kind of play in the Premier League is probably more set up to, like, I don't think we got embarrassed a couple of years ago against Bayern Munich or against PSG or today. Like, we can set up with that. I'm not going to lie. In the champs, I'm more, in the Premier as well, but in the champs, I'm more looking at some individual brilliance because I've seen people win the champs, not necessarily be the best team in the 90 minutes. One attacker said, you know what? There's a chance in the 87 minute. I'm slapping his top bins from 25 yards. We ain't really got that. In the cups, like League Cup, you got to the League Cup final. I'm expecting more like die on your sword type of thing. Definitely with the FA Cup. So yes and no, in my opinion. I can't lie, it's Ethan's time. Odegaard needs to get out of the team and leave, or he could turn into a CDM and take the Norgard role. I'm not going to lie. And you don't know I'm not Odegaard's biggest fan. I wish Eze was fit. I think he leaded the press well. I think he showed himself. I think he tried to split lines. People always, I don't know why, yeah, and I'm not saying you lot are wrong, yeah, but people think, based on what we saw with Sporting set up off the ball and us, Odegaard could just get the ball, dance past people, or like, you need, if you want some, like, anytime you've seen, I'm not comparing him to these guys, yeah, but